Welcome to today's video on our show host series. I want to talk today about community, which is a word that I have had a mixed relationship with through the years, and you might have as well. But it's really powerful in a good way when you're a show host of a podcast or YouTube show, or really any kind of media production that you want to reach a certain group of people. Almost nothing is more powerful than a sense of community that gets behind a show and loves it and promotes it and shares it. And so, even though community in the world of media and personal brand has kind of become commodified as like a product that you develop to sell, I want to get away from that in this video and talk about the real heart of it and the origins of community and how powerful they are, like for all of human history, and how it applies today as a show host into building a really successful show. And community isn't something that's tied to a certain scale or size. Community can be 50 people who, live in your neighborhood. Community can be thousands of people around the world, all connected by this common interest or cause or mission. Community can be anything in between, right? It can be, it's always people, which is important to remember. It's always created by humans, but whether they're united by a cause or proximity or age or demographic or belief system, or maybe something that they didn't choose like ethnicity, it can be so incredibly powerful to build your show to support that community and to invite that community to come be a part of it. And here's what I mean. We're working on a new show right now with a client based here in Salt Lake City, so it's really fun. They come into the studio and we record in person, and they're bringing all these community members in to be on the podcast. It's a podcast about wellness. It's very thoughtful, and it is so fun for me as a producer to be meeting all these members in my community, some of whom I knew, some of whom I didn't, as they come in to guest on the show. And in real life, I'm seeing the power of community as it literally creates this new show, right? The guests of the show, the interrelated relationships that they all have, the way that so many of them know each other. Like guest A will be there and be like, hey, guest B is coming, in an hour. Oh my gosh, I love them. That's so great. The conversations that happen after a recording around like, we've got to get together. Let's host a group dinner. You know who I haven't talked to in a long time? This person. Let's get them over. The conversations just around like, how can we support this show? How can we maybe have a launch party and invite the community members who we all know and love? That's the kind of community I'm talking about. When you create a show that's really meant to serve a group you already know and love, whether that's a big group or a small group, there is a power that you tap into that's pre-existing. You didn't manufacture it, all right? Sometimes in the age of social media, it's so easy to think of community as like a manufactured, digital, ethereal, unembodied thing, like followers as a community. And communities can form out of social media followers, but typically they're not the same thing, right? You know what I'm talking about. Like followers do not equal community. There's usually a bunch of conversations and connections happening off social media where community can come from that. But I want you to remember that you're a human being and you're part of many communities already. And so as you think about as a show host, like how could I get my show to the people who want to hear it most? How could I make a show that serves the people that I really want to get to? Well, I want you to think about what communities you're already a part of and how can you bring them in a very authentic, legit way, not manufactured. Could you make a show that really is a celebration and a connection of the community you already exist in? Because I can tell already from just working in, pre-production and recording on the show, it's going to be successful because every single person who's been a guest is so enthused and well-connected and on board, and like they will be sharing it. Like, yes, of course, the guest will follow up with the proper links and whatever, but it's like beyond that. These people have real relationships and they're all aligned around the concept of this show. It's what they already do in their normal everyday life. That's why they're a guest on the show. And so community can take this show so much further than like just the show host and just what they can do. It's a little shorter video today, but I think it's such an important principle, especially right now in 2024, to remember when we're kind of in the midst of this huge transition around AI and social media and what's online and fake news and real and deep fakes and generated and whether or not, somebody really thought that or a computer made it up. One of the most powerful things you can do is tap into your humanness in your relationships and the communities you've been building for a long time and actually make shows for them and with them. So I'm leaving it there today. I know it's a shorty, but I think a goodie. If you have questions, leave a comment. Obviously, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next week.